Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah. It was. Yeah.
I think we'll get started.
Yeah.
Yeah, just 1 minute before you're ready, just give me a thumbs up.
Thank you.
1 minute
Are you
before
about
I'm
ready to go right now?
Yeah, thumbs up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It wasn't it good?
I didn't know what to expect. What meeting was that?
The United Nations Association. We gave a presentation.
We wouldn't have gone over as well.
Yeah. It would have set up.
Since I remained curious, I think you started to tell me insurance.
Okay, I'd like to invite you all to let me know if you can't hear me.
You know what?
Can't hear
I
me
was
great.
certainly.
And no rush, just draw your conversation to a close and come and join the circle if you would like. We prefer to have everybody in the circle so that we're all able to see each other. And but if you want to sit on the outside of the circle, that's cool too. My name is Tim Corden, and I'm a member of First Unitarian Society in Milwaukee, the other First Unitarian Society. I'm sorry.
But we
The other one.
claim you. We claim you.
Thank you. I want to be claimed by you. I actually grew up in Milwaukee as a young child till I was 14, so I feel really at home in Milwaukee. I love Milwaukee. I might even live here again someday because I love this town. So part of why I'm doing what I'm doing is really selfishly motivated. I want to get around the state and meet my UU sisters and brothers, and I should say siblings, right? Because everybody doesn't fall into that dichotomy anymore of male, female. So I want to meet my UU siblings, and I also am trying to bring more people under this tent that embraces the values that UUs know well about. And we're not all UUs, right? We've invited the community at large to this, and so this is not really an official UU event. It's a partnership between the state, the Wisconsin UU State Action Network, and a project that they've joined called Building Unity. But before I get too far and talk too much, like I'm prone to do, I want to start by recognizing that we are gathered now on land that has been stolen, from the indigenous peoples that were here first, the First Nations. And it was stolen, and our nation, the US of A, was built on oppression, slavery, genocide, and domination over the earth. And white supremacy and privilege have flourished at the expense of indigenous peoples, other peoples of color, all of our relatives, and our Mother Earth. We are gathered here in a spirit of healing and of building unity to save this planet and ourselves before it's too late. I want to thank First Unitarian Milwaukee, First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee, or First Church as they like to call themselves. You have been the most gracious hosts we've ever known, and I hope that we get a chance to do the same for you in Madison and in Stevens Point and all the other UU congregations, because part of what we're talking about tonight is using our UU congregations as a base, as a home base. And I know that's already been happening, but we just want to organize it a little bit so we're all doing it together and sharing resources. But again, before I get off talking too much, I'll get into that stuff later. I want to just say that we are live streaming this, or attempting to, if we have enough of a Wi-Fi signal. And if anyone, for any reason, has objections to that, you can let our videographer, Dan Folkman, know. We're happy to disconnect the camera at any time. If I'm going to pass these little red sheets of paper around. Respect to are part of this historic event. I'm trying, I'm a working class kid from Milwaukee, and I'm trying to take myself really seriously. And so, because my children's future depends on that.
Yep.
And so what I'm trying to say is to all of you that this is a historic event. We want to document this. You are at a historic event because the Building Unity gatherings are trying to pull together every imaginable group that's working for peace, for justice, for sustainability, and for democracy. And build one big united movement of the people. We're trying to work smarter and not harder. How many of you get just overwhelmed by the number of appeals from peace groups, justice groups, democracy groups, women's rights, Chicano rights, I mean, on and on and on, right? And it's like, you all want my time, my money. Well, what if we were one movement united for human rights, all human rights? Yeah. A movement that stood with all of us knowing that we've got to care for this planet, right? We can't keep using aluminum cans like we got in the back of the room. We can't keep buying plastic like we got surrounding our cookies. And we can't keep driving around in our own little cars. It ain't working. It's what we've known, it's what we breathe, it's what we do. But we have to stand up and say, this is hard. But we got to stop living as though petroleum is something we can just suck out of Mother Earth and burn up and put into the atmosphere and say to our kids, sorry, we didn't know better. We do know better. And it's going to take all of us doing everything to turn this around. So I'm going to pass these pink slips around. These are not your typical pink slips. If you want one, keep it on your lap, and that'll let our videographer know that you don't want to be filmed or photographed. Also, I encourage any of you to photograph, get pictures, send up to Facebook. You can post them on our Building Unity site or our Wusan site. All right. I said I wasn't going to talk too much, but I'm having a hard time with this. So I want to thank Wusan, and I want to particularly thank Mr. Jim Black. Jim, stand up for us. Jim's been the president of Wusan, both in spirit or elected, but Jim has pretty much single-handedly pushed to keep Wusan going. There's a number of other Wusan people. Will you stand up if you're a Wusan person? Tom, Molly, Arthur. So we're trying to organize the UUs, myself, and there's a lot of us out farther and wider, but we're trying to organize the UU congregations to be working as a united force for justice in the state. And we're just getting started, and we're really happy to be partnering up with Building Unity, which is another hat I wear. So really, I'm just trying to make my life simpler and do the same thing and get credit on both teams. But we're wanting to use the UU congregations around the state as a base for holding Building Unity gatherings to build unity for all these different groups. That's it in a nutshell. Somebody listened to me, went and got his camera. Thank you, Jim. All right. Without further ado, I want to thank also Pam Richard of Peace Action. There she is. Pam is our newest member of the Building Unity Steering Committee, the State Building Unity Steering Committee. And Pam's done a great job of sending the word out around Milwaukee that we're trying to build unity in Milwaukee and elsewhere. And so Pam is an amazing activist, and we're really glad to have her on the Building Unity team. Lastly, I want to thank First Unitarian Milwaukee. Social justice intern here, Claire Keys, has been a great help and host. And Jim has welcomed us. Jim Spice, First Unitarian. And how many First Unitarian Society folks do we have from Milwaukee? Raise your hands. Thank you for your warm hospitality, for showing up for this, and I hope that your church will be one of the first UU congregations to officially join both USAN and the Building Unity movement.
What does USAN stand for exactly?
Thank you, good question. It's the Wisconsin UU State Action Network, and Jim Black, our president, is going to give a little talk on that in just a few moments. Lastly, before I before we really get things started, no, not lastly, second to lastly, I want to thank our artists who have traveled, some of them quite far, from Rockford, Illinois. This gentleman, Christopher Sims, got on the bus today. We'll be hearing some of his spoken word poetry a little later, and we'll talk about him. I want to thank Dr. Shannon Sloan-Spice, who's come all the way from Waukesha? Milwaukee. You know me. All right. And Art Shigoni, my dear friend and brother from Madison, drove down with us, and a lot of other folks from Madison who came to join us. But and lastly, I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your beautiful Saturdays to show up for building unity, for building a peaceful, just, and sustainable planet. So now I'd like to introduce the people who are really going to open things up today for us. Dr. Shannon Sloan-Spice is a professor of environmental humanities at Pacifica Graduate Institute in California and at Oakton Community College in Chicago. She is the co-founder and director of Water Protectors of Milwaukee, and most recently of Holding Space, a collective of artists and healers. Since the age of 16, she has traveled with both Ojibwe and Lakota medicine teachers and has carried stories and taught storytelling as her medicine. She holds a PhD in mythological studies with an emphasis in depth psychology from Pacifica Graduate Institute, where she is also completing a certificate in ecopsychology. Water Protectors of Milwaukee are organizing a 3-day community grief ritual, and the details of that can be found both on Facebook, and I printed up some flyers about this event over on our lit table if you want to learn about Dr. Sloan-Spice's 3-day grief ritual that'll be this coming weekend. And I invite you, if you want to share more about that, you can. She's going to be joined by another Native person, Art Shigoni, just has traveled the world as an ambassador for peace and an activist for the earth, and as the leader of Call for Peace Drum and Dance Company. For his commitment to Native American education by including his image in their permanent exhibit, People of the Woodland, Wisconsin Indian Ways. As a member of the Wolf Clan, he has danced in powwows throughout Wisconsin and has shared his welcome and opening words at more justice promoting gatherings than I will likely ever attend. We are grateful to have him here to open this Building Unity event. And now, without further ado, Art and Dr. Shannon Sloan-Spice. And I do have another mic if you all each. Let me give you this one, then you don't have to get behind the podium.
I'm going to sit right here.
You want a chair?
Yeah, please.
All right. Thank you.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think we'll need that.
Oh, we need it for the live stream. Are you okay with using it?
Yeah.
Testing. All right. How's this sound, Dan?
Do. Can you hear me?
Please forgive me for sitting down, but my presentations because people knew me for dancing and programs and stuff. But what they don't know is that I come down with a muscle disease called mitochondrial myopathy. It's a weakening of the leg muscles. So therefore I can't dance and do things like I used to be able to do, but I still show up at different events and use my voice. And so I have to reinvent myself, which is good. And I want to say thank you to my wife, Dawn, because she's been a great asset, a great help to me in my recovery. And it's a very difficult thing, you know, once you... what I wanted to say is that if you have your legs, you have your health, you know, don't abuse it, you know, cherish it, because you never know when you'll be able to, when you don't have it. And, you know, it's one of those hard things. But anyways, I want to say thank you, Tim, for allowing me to be here, and all of you. And as a Native American person, that not just myself, but all of us have children and grandchildren. And it upsets me greatly. And that's what gets me up every morning. It pisses me off because I see how our country is run, especially by the person that's in office right now, who cares nothing about our future, our generation, because he sits up in the White House, our house, and tells us what we can and can't do, and how we should live, how we should teach our children and grandchildren, when he has the most. You know, it's like, he doesn't know what it's like to be poor. He's never been on an Indian reservation. But what I'm saying is that people like him, we don't need in office. Please forgive me for being political, but what as a Native American person I see for our future generation, we're going downhill fast. It doesn't matter how much money or what you have, but each one of our culture, each one of you that are sitting around here, German? Anybody German?
Yeah.
Italian, Swedish, Norwegian, Polish. Anybody else I've forgotten? Irish? French? English? Scottish? Dutch? Mohican. Each one of those cultures, if you represented one, you came from a culture. You came from language, an alphabet. And that's what this prophecy is all about. There's Ashke Bamada Zing. It's called the new people, which you all are here today. Ashke Bamada Zing, a new people. And that's what this medicine meal represents. The white buffalo calf was born. She didn't stay too long because when the prophecy was told about the white buffalo calf, and the reason why she didn't stay was because we as a society, as brothers and sisters, were not ready for her teachings. Because we're still killing each other in the name of Christianity. We're still doing things to each other that's disrespectful. There was one time, and that made me really happy. And it was in Standing Rock. How many here remember Standing Rock? That should have been on all the news coverages, all over the world. And the reason why I say that is because they brought together people from different nations. And there was actually Indian nations that had been fighting against each other and killing each other. And they, because of Standing Rock, they crossed boundaries together. They shared food, they shook hands and made amends to stop the fighting and the feuding against each other as brothers and sisters. And they brought this unity together for the first time. And I saw the circle that they had created. Veterans, Okichidas, warriors. And it was so powerful, so beautiful. And yet, you think the CNN or anybody else would publicize that? No. It was about unity. It was about bringing people together. And they did that. About this medicine wheel. And I thought it was so spectacular, but it was not even on TV. But what I want to say today is that I'm glad that all of you are here, representing your people, your culture, your heritage, your language, who and what you are as people, caring for Mother Earth, caring for your future generation. It's up to you, us, to carry this forward and not let somebody else tell us how we're going to live and what we should do, how to raise our children and grandchildren. Yes, there's a lot of disrespect in our White House right now. And we needed to get this man out of office so that we can move forward, because our drinking water is at stake, our lives are at stake, our culture, our futures are at stake. So I want to say thank you to all, Mama Konono, my creator. I want to say thank you to all my brothers and sisters that are here in this circle. I want you to bless them, bless their families. And when they left their homes today, I want you to make sure that when they go back, that everything is in place. And if they have relatives that are traveling to and from, I want to make sure that you cover them, protect them as they're going to and from places, so that they're all safe and sound. And protect all the people, the water protectors, our relatives, our ancestors. Thank you for blessing us with this beautiful day. And watch over our elders that are in nursing homes. Let them know that we're thinking of them. Mama Konono, thank you for this offering of this sema, this tobacco. Thank you for my sisters. Thank you for Tim for the hard work that he's done, and all the leaders in this room here. Thank you for blessing them and watch over all of them. So Mama Konono, my wana katan, and a big thank you to all of us that are here today. My wana, oh.
Thank you, Art. I think it's true, and I think, Shannon, you may be the person who told me this when we first met. But I think that there are peoples in this world who bring gratitude into everything. Isn't that a native way to let gratitude fill everything? And to lead and to live with gratitude in your heart? And so what I'd like to do as a way of getting to know you all, and for all of us to get to know each other, is to ask you to share your name, the gender pronouns that you prefer, if you feel comfortable doing so, and something that you're grateful for. And you're also welcome to pass. You don't have to tell us anything. It's a free world. So, my name is Timothy Michael Corden. Most people call me Tim, but I've been Tim. I was Timmy for a while, then I was Tim. And whatever happened to Timothy? So feel free to call me Timothy. It's a name that I always had and then sort of didn't have. So I'm inviting people, especially new people, to consider that mouthful of a name and call me Timothy. But you can also call me Tim. That's what everybody else calls me. And my gender pronouns are he and him, but I don't object to they and them. And I'm grateful for the love in this room. And I'll just wheel this around. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to get to that later. I'm getting a little confused. It's your turn. You got time to think about what you're grateful for.
Well, that,
Thank you, Tim. I'm so grateful to you for putting this together today. I have some water in a copper cup, and I'm just going to put this kind of here. So good morning, everybody, or afternoon now. My name is Shannon, and I am very grateful to be with all of you here today. I just passed around a little of that tobacco that Art was talking about. And I want to just talk to you a little bit about, it's kind of a menage of stories, really, because you know how stories are, how time is. It doesn't move in a linear fashion, but it rather circles around and around and around and again. And so I really love that Tim began with this concept of gratitude, because we forget that gratitude is the strongest medicine. And they've done studies about this, that when you are in gratitude, that there's no other place for emotions otherwise except gratitude. And so it has this profound effect on who we are and how we relate to one another. And I've been thinking a lot about the concept of right relationship. And there's a beautiful creation story here in Turtle Island. If you were to look at the bottom of my dish here, it has a turtle on it. And Turtle Island is North America. So in the beginning, there was just water. Everything was water. And there were the creatures living in the water. And one day, the sky opened up, and a woman began to fall to the earth. And they were worried, the animals, as they were watching her fall. They said, well, what is she going to do? She needs some place to be. So the geese rose up and they caught her fall, and they flew around with her as long as they could. But the other animals knew they would get tired soon. And so they said, we have to do something. So Turtle rose up and said, well, let her come and rest on my back. And Sky Woman gently was placed on the back of that great turtle. Well, after a while, they said, she can't just float around in the water forever. We have to find a bit of earth for her. So they called all the divers together, and they said, go down to the bottom of the depths. We heard that there was some mud down there, and see if you can go and get it. So they all dove down, one after the other. The strongest swimmers dove down, but it was so deep, and they couldn't reach those depths where this thing called mud was. And finally, the littlest of them all, Muskrat, he wasn't such a good swimmer, but he said, I'm going to try my best. And so Muskrat dove down into those depths. And they didn't see or hear him. Well, after a long time, they began to worry about their friend. And then they saw a few bubbles, and up floated his dead body. Muskrat had given his body, but when he opened his hand, there was that mud. And Sky Woman, she was so grateful. She took that mud and she put it down on Turtle's back, and the first emotion experienced was her gratitude. So out of her gratitude, she began to sing and dance. So gratitude was the first emotion. The first response was creativity. She began to sing and dance. And together, through her gratitude, and with the alchemy of all the help of her relatives who had done so much to make this possible, the earth on Turtle's back began to grow and grow and grow and grow until finally there was room for everybody on Turtle Island. And Sky Woman, when she had fallen, she had just taken a few seedlings from the tree of life. And she opened her hand and put those seeds in that mud, and the food began to grow. And there was eventually enough for everybody through gratitude and creativity. And I like to remind us of that story because I think that, our creation stories really tell us who we are as a people. And if we look at other creation stories, we can see that, we're missing a couple of things. And that's that gratitude and reciprocity. In the Bible, Eve is villainized, right, for communing with the animals and for moving toward knowledge and wisdom. And Sky Woman is celebrated. And through that gratitude and creativity, the abundance grew and grew and grew, and there was enough for everybody. So I like to tell that story because I think we need to get back to the roots of what is the story of place here. What are the stories that we're not telling about the land that she spoke and gave to the people that belong here? When I was growing up, I had two beautiful teachers, a Lakota medicine woman, Eleanor Soto, and a Potawatomi man, Earl Michigan. And one day we were in the teepee and we were traveling, and Earl told a beautiful story. He said that in the time of the 7th generation, a rainbow tribe of people would begin to gather to heal the wounds of the world, not through wars or treaties, but through gathering together around sacred fires and sharing our stories. Oh, and I was a little girl and I heard that. I said, I want to be at those fires. I want to hear those stories. I want to learn some stories to bring to the fire. I was so excited about it. It shaped the whole rest of my life. So I went into acting and I became a writer and I got a PhD in mythology, and everybody said, well, how are you going to live, with a theater degree? And oh no, how are you? Mythology is even more useless than a theater degree. That's the most useless degree in the whole world. But you see, stories are my bliss. And all the teachers tell us that what we're really here to do is to discover what our bliss is. Joseph Campbell, who's one of my great friends and mentors, says, when you follow your bliss, the universe will open windows where there were only walls before. And Michael Meade, who is a great teacher nowadays, he says, but when you follow your bliss, you're going to follow your blisters. Because sometimes the obstacle is in the way, you know what I mean? And sometimes the obstacle is the way. And I think that sometimes we forget that for some of us, the obstacle is the way. The tough times, the dark nights of the soul, the constant questioning. In my life in activism, we get burned out. We think it's too big, it's too much, there's too much. And so what I want to remind you of is that when you follow your bliss, even if the obstacle is in the way, that we learn to bless the blisters, because they still bring us closer to the bliss. And Michael Meade says that we come into this world with words that are written on our hearts. We don't come into this world blank and people fill us up, but we come into the world with words written on our hearts. And we have to figure out what those words are, what our gift is. What did we come in this world ready to do? We all came here to make it a better place. So when you move closer to your bliss, to your creativity, to your gift, and you figure out how to give that from that place of abundance, well, like Sky Woman, that will multiply and multiply and multiply until, like we see this sacred hoop, everybody is included, everybody's needs are included. And, Art is right about Standing Rock. All those years later, almost 30 years later, I found myself out in North Dakota. And the first day that I arrived there, I met LaDonna, who, put the call out to everybody to come. And she said that a long time ago, a medicine man had put some medicine into that earth right there on her land. And that is the reason why this global fight came to that place. That nobody would think something so remarkable could happen. And they came from all over the world. It wasn't just the largest gathering of indigenous people, but people from Belgium, Germany, France, Colombia, all kinds of people showed up to be there. And because I'm a storyteller, I would go around and I'd ask people, why did you come? Why did you come? And at Standing Rock, everybody had a purpose. So we were united in protecting the water. But there were many ways that you could do that. You could participate in camp life, you could go on and direct action, all these things. And there was a woman there who was, I'll never forget this, she was blind, she had a stick that she would walk with, but she could see in a way maybe that we couldn't. And her job was to tend the fire in the morning and to make the coffee for the people going out on action. And one day we were in the kitchen, and there I was, why did you come? Why did you come? And she said, I'll never forget this. Those moments that change your life. She said, we all came here for the same reason, because the water in our body told us we needed to come. And that's when I knew how deeply I had been called into service, because the water in my body told me that I had to come. That I had lent my ear to the great below and knew that she needed protecting. And we all need protecting. Water is the single most unifying force on this planet besides love. It's love and water, my friends. It levels us. We are no greater or no less than every other creature that depends on water for life. I love the work of Masaru Emoto. I don't know if you've seen his work on water, but he did an experiment of talking to the water, and he would take pictures of it. And when he spoke love to the water, and unity and community and grace and all of these things, they form the most beautiful snow crystals, just gorgeous geometry. And when he spoke of, Holocaust and mines and Hitler and hatred, the water disintegrated so it couldn't hold form. And I think that we forget how important it is that we speak love to the water. That we speak love to the water in our own resonant water bodies. I don't know how many of you wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and say, I love you. Never. Which is way too many times less than it should be. Within the seed of every heart in this circle has been planted an archetype of greatness, an archetype of overwhelming change. It only takes 3% of a population to affect a revolution. 3%. And so this work that we're trying to do and coming together is really about that prophecy, you know? When we were at Standing Rock, all of a sudden it realized, oh my goodness, sacred fires were lit, stories were being told. All of a sudden that mythological time was now. So when would now be the right time to ignite that fire? You know, last year in 2018, it was 2 years after Standing Rock had ended, and we were still holding meetings, but nobody was coming. You know, the burnout had happened, Standing Rock was over, nobody showed up. And one day, a meeting was called, and I was tired that day, you know, I was tired. And I said, Layla, I'm not going to do that. You know, nobody's going to show up. It's going to be me, you, and Lee, and that's it. She said, no, an elder's coming from Madison. We got to do it. And in walks Art Shigoni. From a mist he came, like magic. And he told me this story about how important it is to lay down that tobacco, you know, about right relationship, about giving back, about expressing our gratitude and our love. And how everybody knows that what happened at Standing Rock, you know, people might say, well, Standing Rock is over or it failed or whatever else, but you know, the Wangari in New Zealand was granted personhood. The Ganges was granted personhood. Lake Erie was just granted personhood. I'm hoping our Lake Michigan is going to be next. Things don't always look good, but it's important to keep ourselves in that gratitude practice, to hold tight to that. At Standing Rock, even with militarized police and tear gas and all of these things coming at us, the elders would say, no, today was a good day. Today was a day for victory. And so whether or not we have fears, whether or not we have disagreements, it becomes even more and more important to really talk about our love and gratitude for one another, our love and gratitude for this earth, our love and gratitude for the water, our love and gratitude for the stars, for the trees, for the oceans, for the rivers, for the two-legged, four-legged, winged, those that fly, those that swim, for all our relatives. Gratitude. Because when we express that gratitude, we will create the abundance and the verdant future that we long for. But please do not forget how important your words are. Even in the face of darkness, speak of the light. Earl would have been so proud to know that those lessons that he taught me all those years ago, you know, carried me so far in my journeys. And Art appears out of nowhere and he says, you know, when they put those fires out at Standing Rock, that fire did not go out. It was ignited in your heart. And from there, it can never be extinguished. And so, fire keepers of that 7th generation fire, of that rainbow nation, stay lit. Oh.
Thank you both so much for blessing this gathering in the way that you have. I'd like to give all of you a chance to share a little piece of who you are, your name, your gender, pronouns if you'd like to share them, and something you're grateful for. And also what group, congregation, organization, location, whatever else you'd like to share. Briefly though, please, because we've got a lot to cover today.
Hi, my name is Claire Keys.
Hello.
Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry. My name is Claire Keys. I use the pronouns she, her, and hers, and I work here at First Church as the social justice intern. And I am grateful for my Milwaukee community, but then also the community that extends beyond the city too.
My name is George Stone. I'm a geologist, recently retired from MATC. I always like to say Stone's the name, rocks are my game. Timothy, my son's name is Timothy. My father was John Timothy. My grandfather was Timothy. I have a nephew named Timothy, so it's a great name.
My name is Eileen Murat Stone, and I'm an ESL instructor for MATC for the past 25 years. And I am grateful for the way I think. I'm glad the way my heart is and the way I think about things. I feel I'm on the right side.
Hi, I'm Patricia McFarland, also from MATC, so we've got 3 in a row, recently retired. And I'm grateful for justice and the courageous people who build grassroots, bottom-up movements.
I'm Vince Sensky. I'm from the Unitarian Church North, and I go he, him, his. And I'm grateful for all of you here and all the thousands of others that are truly compassionate about doing what's right.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Monroe. He, him, his pronouns. I'm grateful that I ran into Tim last week at the Mid-America, along with Rolly and Terry and... Can you keep the mic? Oh, I'm sorry. I ran into quite a few people, so thanks for the invitation to be here. I'm the incoming president to Unitarian Church North. I sit on a lot of committees, one of them social justice. I'm also heavily involved with Rotary, and Rotary has action groups. One of them is the Peace Action Group, and another one is the Sustainability Action Group. So this aligns with my Rotary projects too, so thanks.
Hi, my name's Debbie Metke, all the women ones. I'm writing some books on how to save the world. I'm involved with the United Nations Association in Milwaukee and was with the World Federalists. We believe in uniting the countries so we can save this planet. And I just want to say real quick, well, I'm mainly grateful for all of you because I know a lot of people who aren't like you, a lot in my family. So. But just this morning I was reading Indian prophecies coincidentally, and one is all about the birthing process and all the pressure put on the head of the baby, but when you come out you have the promise of a new life. And I couldn't help but think of our political situation and what we're going through. It's so hard, but hopefully we're going to come out on the other end as the Rainbow Nation.
Hi, my name is Heidi Rose. I work with Wisconsin Anti-Violence Effort, or WAVE Educational Fund. We work statewide on gun violence prevention. Happy to be here today. I go by she, her, hers. And I am very grateful that I was able to hear Shannon tell that story today. I've known Shannon for many years. She's one of my sister's best friends. And that made it worth it just being here for that. So thank you.
Hi, Babette Guinot, with the Latin America Solidarity Committee, with the Peace Action, with the Cuba Coalition, with the Wisconsin Bailout the People, and half a dozen other groups.
Radio.
Oh, yes, and with River West Radio. I do the show, The Grass is Greener. I think I'd just like to say, being involved with all that and many other things over the years, I'm thankful for solidarity.
Bonjour. My name is Winona Gardner. I'm enrolled in the Stockbridge-Munsee Band of Mohican Nation. My Indian name is Wabananong Morning Star. My mom is Eleanor Soto. And while I love Shannon, I think she misspoke. While yes, her name is Wambli Wasuanyana, and that is Lakota, she has no Lakota blood. She's not enrolled in Lakota, nor a Lakota descendant. She's my relative. She was my foster mother and happened to be my cousin from the Mohican, Oneida, and Brotherton tribe from the east. She's Woodland. And I can show it through genealogy. We have shared genealogy. She comes from the Welch line of my grandmother, Leona Irene Welch, who married Grady Guy Gardner Jr., Sr. And Shannon, could you please correct your introduction of my mom and change that? Her teachings are Mohican, Oneida, and Brotherton. Change that on the event, please. I've known Shannon since the 80s. We were in the same circle with Earl and my mom doing ceremonies. So we go way back as water protectors in Rainbow Tribe. And we've both been doing water protecting work ever since then for 3 decades. So we're ceremony sisters. She's my family. And I currently am a student at Full Sail University in the Master of Arts, New Media Journalism. And I'm currently covering the story of the water protectors and this 3-day ceremony community grief ritual. So that's why I'm here. This is my church. I'm a member of this church. I've been coming here since 1999. And so I'm so glad that my church is supporting the water protectors of Milwaukee, this cause, the grief ritual. I'm so grateful that our church is supporting this wonderful presentation. I have high regard to Shannon and her work. She's done so many amazing things over the last 3 decades. I am a huge supporter and fan of everything she does. And she also got an Indian name from my mom and Earl. And I'm glad that we both have been given names and that she was adopted by my mom and Earl. And so we're family. And I look forward, if you guys want to have any comments that I can include in the article, I'll give you my business card. My number is 414-391-0565, business@wenonagardner.com, WENONA, Gardner.com. If you have photos, statements, experiences, and want to be included, send me some information, and I'll include it. Thank you. Chimgwech.
I'm Hank. I'm a member here at UU. I'm a he, and I'm thankful for the earth.
I'm Mary Celeste. My last name is Lon, and I'm a member here at the church. I also am a member of Peace Action of Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. I'm a president of Public Enterprise Committee. I always say they were founded by our great previous socialist mayor, late socialist mayor Frank Zeiler, and I'm a member of a lot of other groups too, and I can't remember them all, but I'm most grateful for the very easy life I've had, for the very beautiful people I have had that brought me up, and all the friends. I can't, when I learn now about all the things that are happening in the world, it's just pretty devastating, and I look at my life and I am extremely, extremely grateful.
Hi, my name is Pam Richard. I'm the office manager for Peace Action Wisconsin. Just came from a United Nations Association meeting this morning that was very moving about a genocide that none of us were aware of in the southern Cameroon former British colony, and it's comparable to the Rohingya genocide where 200 villages have been burned and 2 million people are refugees, and it was a shocking revelation, and we hope to get more information about that. And what I'm grateful for are the trees and the water.
Hello, my name is Tom Seary. The first time I heard the issue of pronouns, but they didn't tell us which ones to use, and so I kept thinking we and us, and then they started using the male and female. Oh, I said, oh, that's what they wanted. And I still think of we and us. And the other thing I think about, and I tend to be more of a listener, but I don't get into talking too much, but But the thing that I listen is the presence of the Spirit. I am one who really has a spirit path that I go on. And so when I listen for the Spirit in each one of you. I listen for the Spirit to speak through you. And so I hope you will get in touch with that Spirit, the Spirit that is in all of us, and speak through that Spirit.
Christopher D. Sims, Rockford, Illinois. He, him, his. The UU congregation of the Rock Valley is where I'm a member of, as well as the new administrator for UUJEC, Unitarian Universalists for a Just Economic Community, and a host of other things, but that's enough.
I'm Ruth McEwen, she, her, hers, and I like we and us. I'm an attender at the Milwaukee Friends meeting, and that's how I found out about today. I read about it this morning and decided I needed to be here. I'm very grateful for the sunrise each day. I live by the lake and am witness to it, and appreciate that the sun shines in and on all with no discrimination, and that it lights up even when it's in the backdrop and gives the clouds and the dark energies and movements that are going, it's still bringing light through those.
Hello, my name is Phil Smith. I'm the co-chair of the Social Justice Committee at Lake Country Unitarian Universalist Church in Heartland. We've been doing a lot of work on Black Lives Matter, and more recently I'm hoping we get more involved in climate change stuff. I'm a retired environmental engineer, so I'm passionate about that issue, and I want to coordinate more with the rest of you. I am thankful for knowledge and good science.
Keep hope alive.
Hi, I'm Tom Boswell, and I'm a member of James Reed Unitarian Universalist in Madison, and been working with Building Unity for about a year now. And I spent the best first 20 years of my life when I had red hair in Milwaukee here as a community organizer. And I'm grateful for the resurgence of grassroots organizing in our community and in our country.
My name's Molly Plunkett. I'm from Prairie Unitarian Universalist Society in Madison. I'm here today as part of the presentation on WUSUN, the statewide action network that's fledgling, and my colleague Jim Black will be telling you about later, and I'm grateful you're all here.
Hi, Jim Black, he, him, his. Very grateful to be here with a wonderful group of people, and very thankful that Tim has organized all this so we can get together, so thank you.
I'm Janet Nordstrom from this church, and I am involved with so many wonderful groups like the American Association of University Women, the Greater Milwaukee United Nations Group, Serapidus, Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. Goes on, but Tim, I'm so happy that I met you last week. We had such a great weekend in our regional assembly in St. Louis, so I was so grateful that he was coming to our church and trying to get us all together as a group. So I'm grateful for Tim and for all of you being here.
I'm Deb Mansky, and I belong to this church. I'm a poet and a retired everything else. I am most grateful for my grandchildren and for the young people for their impatience. I think it's a little late for patience. I've been waiting a long time.
I'm Jerry Phelan. I'm from First UU in Wausau, Wisconsin. He, him, his. I am currently the chair of the Social Justice Committee there, and I'm grateful for people who actually enjoy following their blisters.
I'm another Jerry, Jerry Fredrickson. I've been a member of this congregation for some 30 years.
I'm grateful for the community it brought me all those years ago, because I was at a time in my life where things aren't going so well. So community was very important to me. I've been involved with our Social Justice Council for so long as I can remember, and we have a outreach group into the community. We have some groups like MICA, Common Ground, Interfaith Conference of Greater Milwaukee that we're involved with, and so we're extending our community out and beyond this church.
Hello, my name is Raleigh Hansen. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a member of First Church here in Milwaukee, and I am very grateful for those that have come before us. I appreciate efforts of the people who have come before us, because they brought us to where we are now. And I'm also grateful for our children, because whatever world we can hand them, we're going to be their ancestors, and perhaps ultimately they're the ones that are going to make the biggest impact and the biggest difference for all of us, for the rest, for the whole world. And I want to just share some words from a song I heard last weekend, if I can remember it right. Out of desperation, we found freedom. Out of freedom, we found love. Out of love, we found devotion. And from devotion, the Spirit found us. And so, may the Spirit touch all of us as we go forward on our paths.
My name is Terry Wiggins. I'm a member of this church, and the most important other connection I want to recognize is Interfaith Earth Network. I'm a member of many other organizations, as many of you around this circle know. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am grateful for so many things that so many of you have already mentioned. Our community, both here and now and in the past and in the future. But I think right now we are the ones that need to be here.
My name is Bruce Wiggins, and I like what somebody said, pronouns are we and us. Those are good ones that we need to use more. Sorry I'm late because I had grandpa duty, and what I'm grateful for is having grandpa duty.
My name is Angel Angel Medico, or Angel if you'd like to practice your Spanish. I'm originally from South America, Lima, Peru. I do have indigenous blood in me, and I'm kind of lucky, I guess. And I go by the pronouns he, his, him. And I'm just grateful that we can all gather today and discuss the topics of today. Thank you.
My name is Arthur Thexton. I'm an upraised Unitarian Universalist and use masculine pronouns. I'm most grateful for my two daughters, the elder of whom is Kelda Rose.
I know there's some folks that have come in late and some in the back. We are just going around sharing our names, our pronouns, and something we're thankful for. We can do that as quickly as possible. We got a lot to cover yet in 45 minutes.
Hi, my name is Jim Carpenter. I'm a peace activist. I'm thankful that Bernie Sanders is running for president because he's the best on challenging the military-industrial complex. I'm sorry if I have to leave a little early, but there's flyers on the table about this. Thanks.
There you go. I'm Dawn Chigoni, and I'm also the co-founder of the Call for Peace Drum and Dance Company. And we have a wonderful exhibit we've created over the past shows the future to our more future. So if anybody is interested, I have flyers on that. Want to thank Tim for really, this is wonderful that you all showed up today. And to bring this building unity is so, it's like helping face the crisis that we're all in today. So this is a really great unity time. I'm grateful for this little girl, Greta Thunberg, who just started the youth climate strike. Thank goodness for this younger generation that's coming and know we're an inspirational spirit today to encourage us all to be mindful and to celebrate one another.
Okay, I think we have, is there one more person? Did you want to share back there in the back row? We'll come to you. To make room in the circle here, we'd actually prefer you sit in. Come on, sit in the circle with us.
Good evening. Afternoon. Tom Niebler from St. Ben's. Also,
enables us to, and we've had several meetings in northeast Wisconsin with 11 of the UU congregations.
Increase our renewable from 10% up to, say, 25% like Iowa. Look at all the wind farms they have. Now the renewable energy portfolio standard is the amount of electricity generation from utilities by renewable energy. Right now it's only 10%. In order to meet that standard, We Energy put up a couple of wind farms 10, 15 years ago, and there's been no action there since then. We Energies resists renewable energy because they get, so we need to push the legislature to increase that Wisconsin renewable energy portfolio standard from 10 to at least 20%.
And I can envision Wusan being a way to disseminate valid, accurate information to show the possibility of that and the good product that would provide.
As being provided by many other states.
Yeah, and that's the feasibility.
We're going to have to move things along. Jim's going to stick around. If you have further questions about Wusan, certainly get on our, Molly, do you need to say something?
I just wanted to add to what Jim was saying that, please get onto the mailing list, but also, if you have a chance today, let one of us know if your congregation were to be involved or what kinds of issues you think would be important. We've heard from a couple people already, so that we have some direction as we're going.
All right. Thank you, Jim. I'd like to, the light's okay, you can see this. I'm going to whip through this quickly. We've really underestimated the time this program would take, and partly because we all have things we want to say and we want to get to know each other, and that's beautiful. We want to give you a chance to break into small groups and think about what we're doing and how you can get involved. And so I'm going to whip through this rather quickly.
I was going to tell you about how we started. A small group of us in Madison said, you know, we need unity. We're so fragmented. You know, it sounds like Milwaukee has tons of beautiful groups, but just show me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Are they all kind of doing their own thing, and there's just so much going on you can't quite keep it straight, and it feels like you're competing and you're spread thin? That's how I feel in Madison. So we said, my friends and I said, you know, let's pull together, and we pulled together a panel of some Black Lives Matter activists, some wisdom folks. David Liners actually was there on our panel. Madison Urban Ministry, Grassroots Network, and we just had a panel, and we basically asked, we asked the question, what visions do you have for building unity and creating a better world? And these groups had ideas. I mean, these individuals from groups, they shared their ideas. We called ourselves a Building Unity Movement, or Movers, and just for fun, the Bums. We began meeting monthly. We met with social justice leaders across the state. We took little car tours around the state. We secured a wild painted bus. The bus, we thought this idea that we'd roll into town and we'd meet with churches and justice leaders and have events, and we spent time at the Energy Fair for 3 days, the Midwest Renewable Energy Fair. We supported festivals around this, mostly around Dane County. We joined the water protectors up in the Menominee River area, on both sides of the river. We were at city fairs and enjoyed that coalition. We organized events. We raised some money for the water protectors and attended the Menominee powwow. Part of our goal is to really build solidarity with people of color and indigenous people. You know, you can't have a movement without following the leadership of the people who we stole and committed genocide, stole the land, committed genocide and slavery and atrocities to. We have to put them at the center of our movement. And so Building Unity is really trying to build solidarity with more than just the white folks that we tend to be. Okay, there's a picture of our bus. Up at the Energy Fair. You can see Tom is in the corner there. All right. We partnered a little bit with Our Wisconsin Revolution and brought Bill Whitford, the professor from Madison, who brought the case before the Supreme Court challenging gerrymandering. We did and Dan's made a beautiful video about that you can see online. We've had panel discussions at the Grassroots Festival for a couple of years. We now are partnering with Wusan, and our goal here, this is the thing, folks, pay attention, building unity gatherings. In Madison, we've been doing building unity gatherings for about 6 years. We call them Sustainable Saturday Nights, and we do them at James Reeb UU. Every month on the 4th Saturday night, people just know you can show up. There's food, there are people that'll set up tables, that'll serve the food, that'll clean. Home with food at the end of it. We've been partnering with these groups. I won't read them all, but you can look quickly. We've been reaching out to others. I have a feeling that after this event, a lot of you are going to say, hey, I'm going back to my group and I want to be part of building unity. We'd love to have the United Nations and the Water Protectors and, you know, Peace Action and all of the groups that are associated in Milwaukee as part of this statewide movement. Building unity stands for ending racial and gender disparities, protecting human rights, protecting the environment, strengthening democracy, meeting basic human needs, and promoting peace. How are we going to make the transition to a livable world? We're going to stop promoting war around the world. Look, and what I'd like you to do is get into groups of 4 or 5 and move your chairs around. And these are questions that I'd like you to share with each other. And I'd like in each group to have a recorder, and you can get clipboards, pens, and paper up here to take notes. In each group, decide who's going to be your timekeeper, and we all have smartphones, or most of us have phones that can do timers. So give every person 4 minutes, okay? 4 minutes to share whatever they want on these questions. But what I'm trying to get at is some commitments today. We're going to pass out little cards, and we're going to ask you to think about how can you create a building unity gathering in your neighborhood. I'm hoping that First Church here will decide once a month we're going to have a building unity gathering. I'm hoping that Mequon and Church West and Church North or Lakeland, you see how bad I know the names of the churches, but I'm hoping that the UUC sisters and brothers or siblings, I'm hoping that, you know, Peace Action would host. I mean, we need to have potlucks every month where the community can know that we are creating community around justice and peace. So, without further ado, we'll come around. Actually, we'll come around and bring you clipboards, papers, and pens. You just get in little groups of 4 or 5. You each get 4 minutes. I guess if you're in a group of, let's say you each get 5 minutes if you're in a group of 4, and 4 minutes if you're in a group of 5. All right? And then we'll bring you clipboards, and we'll bring you commitment cards. Our goal is to leave here with some commitment cards, with some little idea like, I'm going to bring this to my social justice community, or I'm going to try to make a building unity happen in my neighborhood, a building unity gathering. We will help you. And the way that we're going to help you is we're going to help bring people like Dan Folkman, our videographer here. Dan is trying to put together an army of the people's media. I'm sorry, I used the army word. Maybe that's not true. But we want to build a team of videographers who can bring the people's media all around the state. Dan can't travel all over Wisconsin. He does. I see him everywhere. He's everywhere. But we need to train more people, and Dan's willing to train us, and Building Unity is willing to consolidate our resources to
Rate up there as if they have 99.9% is in love with this kind of response. So, yeah. Thank you. No. All right, while I'm counting the money that you folks generously gave to our artists, and thank you, it means so much to me. There's a lot of big bills here. I haven't counted it yet, but I'm going to do that. And I know that our artists will put this to good use. So thank you for giving so generously. Let's hear from any highlights from your groups. We'll just, we don't have time to do a lot, but just we'll go to each group and share a highlight or two, if you will. And then project, unless you want to come up to the mic, project loudly.
Come up to the mic.
Come up to the mic, okay. So let's form a line behind here. Pick a representative from your group to come up. Form a line so we can do this quickly because we want to close things up and get you on your way sort of on time. And we also want to give Christopher time to send us off with some beautiful poetry.
Okay, I guess a couple of points. One question was, what can we do with this unity idea that's not already being done? There are a lot of groups doing things. The idea of newsletter came up, a newsletter or some email, and then a discussion about a podcast that could last, 3 to 5 minutes on a weekly basis to let people know what we're doing or what's being talked about, the issues that are important. There is some interest in building unity. There's also a concern about fatigue and burnout.
I call that job security. Okay, we talked a little bit about creating some resources to be shared among the groups and maybe a talking circle when we do have some kind of get-together. We didn't decide on any type. I just talked about our In the Wars Coalition at Peace Action and how we meet every month and have about 10 different groups that coordinate to do anti-war work. And maybe we can include that group in whatever, if the First Unitarian Church could be a host and just kind of make it clear that it's not denominational, that it's open to everybody, that you're just hosting, and I think you could get people of all religions to come that way. And so we want to find a coordinator, but we don't know who would want to volunteer for that. And so we want to find common ground. And I think that's the real key there, is finding common ground. I'm a peace activist, but I also don't want climate change to occur. I'm very strongly against that and for the environment and many in social justice. So we could find our common ground and support each other and each other's struggles. And I think that's the thing that we came up with.
It came up in our group that this has been done before often, but things peter out. So if we could think of a way to keep things going. Some of the Unitarian churches already are meeting for a potluck, like the second Sunday or whatever, and they could latch on to this somehow and make that work. I was interested in the logistics of it, make sure everybody has time to talk. Like one person said, her issue in these groups gets sidelined, so how you can make that fair. We'd maybe want to have some logistics in place about advertising what's going on over the email, action blasts, something that comes up with the different groups in this that we want to call attention to. And lastly, we'd like to connect with politicians, so it's not just insular in our circle. We can reach out to the politicians and let them know we care about these topics. I don't know if there was anything else, group? Okay.
Media.
Media?
Media, that you can get it out to radio, you can get it
Oh yeah,
out to
Babette could get it out on radio. That's another way to let everybody know what we're doing. Thank you.
So our group started off with a lot of concerns around another meeting, another duplication of service, and another effort and burnout. And then a solution was offered. And that was that a group that's trusted, somebody that boils down all that information and disseminates, so when the letter that comes to you to sign, to send off to your politician, you don't have to worry about the letter being inaccurate, or the information that comes in on climate change, you know that that's accurate. So it reduces the burnout by providing reliable, valid information that you can use in your congregations and in your political life.
Wait, so how would you make that happen?
How would we make that happen?
Yeah.
The infrastructure is being built. That would be, and I would see it the easiest and most efficient way through email blasts. Well, The letters are pretty easy. I belong to the UUJEC. We have form letters for politicians on health care. So all we have to do is just get it from the UUJEC and then send it out through the Building Unity, WUSAN, or whatever. I think the resources are out there. It's a matter of sifting through the resources that are valid and consistent with our position and then disseminating them. So people don't have to go to 9 meetings to find out things.
Our group talked about a lot of the same things that have been said. The biggest thing that we talked about was the internal work that we all have to do as a group and as individuals in order to be able to go out and do this work. Two of the people in our group really talked a lot about white privilege and how perhaps, well, not perhaps, this is a very white group of individuals, which is totally fine. We're all here to show up, but then perhaps the work that we need to do in our own personal identity and understanding white privilege so that we can then effectively do work around different issues, especially around racism and stuff like that. So that was a big thing that was expressed as a concern or a goal within our group, and then just talking about how we can then build an effective collaboration. And yeah, that's about it.
All right, thank you all so much. I hope that was helpful. Be sure you signed in on the sign-up sheet so we can keep you posted on what we're doing next. We're going to be having a Building Unity event slightly like this, a little bit different, in a few more groups in Madison in 2 weeks. Then in the month of May, we're heading down to Rock County. We're still solidifying that event. It'll either be in Beloit or Janesville. We're going to be moving up to Stevens Point in June. And we're hoping that everywhere we go, there are going to be groups that say, yes, we would like to start a monthly, regular Building Unity gathering where information can be shared, where action can stem from, where we can come together and collaborate. We're hoping to have 30, I don't know if anyone else believes this is possible, but I'm hoping to have 30 Building Unity gatherings happening around the state by the end of the year. Imagine that. If all over the state in different regions, there was a monthly gathering where people could plug in to the people that stand for peace, for justice, for sustainability and democracy. Just a once-a-month place where you know you can be with your people. That would be huge. And from that, all kinds of things can happen. We have to meet each other, we have to form the relationships, and that's a start. Okay, let me tell you what's next, because it's very exciting. I met Christopher Sims at a General Assembly not long ago. What was that, 2 years ago? And we quickly became thick friends, and I consider him a brother. Christopher Sims is a widely known social justice leader, an artist who uses written and spoken words to inform, empower, and speak truth to power. His poetry can be read and heard at UU sites, publications, and on social media sites like SoundCloud, Bandcamp, and Mixcloud. He is the new administrator for the UUJEC. We heard about them, Unitarian Universalists for a Just Economic Community. And I want to just note that I spoke wrongly, I guess. Jim Black, who is the president of that board, UU.
I'm on the board of James.
Oh, you're on the board, okay. Are you the president of WUSAN?
Yes.
Okay, because I thought you were saying Arthur was the president.
He's the president of the corporation.
Oh, okay.
He's actually, I thought he's just a registered agent. He's registered agent.
Registered agent. I didn't know it was.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
There we go. So I got confused. Who's the president here? All right. I want to know who I'm answering to. Anyway, without further ado, my good friend, Christopher Sims. Give it up.
Thank you all. You're too kind. And this feels kind of awkward. Can I move this in the center too?
Well, that isn't going to move, but if it doesn't move, it's wired into the rug there.
Oh, okay.
You can't move it too much.
It's like I'm giving a lecture here, and it's not a lecture, it's poetry.
Do you want to sit on a chair in the center
Do you
like
want to
they
use?
did?
Do you want to use this one?
Let's
Yeah,
do
you're
that.
more connected to the people.
Yeah. I feel rather disconnected standing up here.
Come on over, Christopher. You can be right in front of the Building Unity banner. What do y'all think of our new banner?
Nice.
Isn't that pretty?
I like the rainbow.
Yeah, the rainbow's nice.
And you know what? I'll project loudly so You think I'll still need the microphone? I wanna.
For the web.
Oh, right.
And also for people that are hearing in part of here.
Okay, sure. So,
Hold it up near your mouth. You want me to
And
hold
actually,
your
I'll
laptop?
stand.
You want me to hold your laptop?
Sure. That's why we're thick. Like, we've known each other for 20 years or so. But I'll have to scroll too, but we can.
I'll just be your table.
Thank you. This piece is called The Return of Earth She. And as soon as even today, I pay attention to my surroundings and I listen a lot. So if you don't see me speaking to anybody, that means I'm thinking deeply and I'm trying to pay attention to what's going on. And I heard a lot of information about even the environment being shared. And I've used this particular poem for the environmental justice movement, The Return of Earth She.
You want me to scroll for you?
Sure.
I can do that.
I'm multitasking here. And I know this poem pretty well, so.
I just don't know how to use it.
Yeah, it's kind of there, yeah.
Okay.
The earth has returned. She is living, breathing, realizing her breath was leaving. She was needing us to remember her worth, to recognize her worth all over again. We used to be her friends. We used to help her heal us, help her heal us, help her heal us. And then she lost all trust and faith in us. She lost all trust and faith in us. We used to be her friends. We used to help her heal us. Plastic she cannot digest. She has cancerous garbage in her breast. We have polluted Earth to death. We have polluted Earth to death, unless we take a step forward and reverse our damaging effects. Our next steps should be radical movements that peacefully changes things with civility. You and I, we have the ability. We have the ability. Earth is alive. We can't let her die. I want my Earth back. I want my Earth back. I want my Earth back. I want to take each of our solutions. We all have effective contributions. We need to turn our passion into action, execution. Drum circles, live spoken word theater, or even getting arrested. We are all a collective that can't be defeated, that can't be defeated. What about our children? Who's going to save the future generations? Who is going to save the lungs of the ecosystem? Who is going to save the lungs of the ecosystem? Toxic water swallows the frogs and the fish. Imagine how much they wished we didn't pollute their habitats. Clean water, clean air, imagine that. We need our Earth back. She returns. We need our Earth back. It is her turn. We need our Earth back. It is our turn. And that's that poem. Yeah, sure. It's right inside the podium there. I was his secretary in the car coming up here. Now he's being my secretary. Thank you. And I wrote this last night. I hope
Do you
it.
happen to have a printout of your poems?
I do.
That might be the only one.
This is the only one.
I don't know how many pages. I think it's that many pages.
Could I take a screenshot of it?
Sure.
After you're
Yeah.
done?
And I can also email anybody any one of these pieces. I have them on my laptop. We're hoping to garner the right energy, a committed group of people, to start a unity movement, a movement for the masses and the neck of the Midwest. We can bless the rest of the country with a unity collective, gathering, great migration to the soul of what we're here for in the first place. This feels great. We have created an escape for those of us who seek community, for those of us who know the power of unity. I believe wholeheartedly in unity. I believe in the people coming together. I believe in us breathing, being, dreaming, thinking in the same place. Unity cannot wait. In these current times when others want us to divide and hide in our homes, I'm all for unity. Are you? Love, peace, togetherness is in my soul. How about you? How about you? How about you? What will you do for a united world? What skills, talents, abilities do you have to create unity in this region? It is unity that I believe in. Do you believe in unity? Will you bring friends the next time? How about family members? We must remember that we are one under the stars, the moon, the sun, the stars, the moon, the sun, the stars, the moon, the sun, the stars, the moon, the sun. We are one in heart, soul, mind. Unity is divine. Unity is worth the time. It is worth the time. I think it is worth the time. Unity exists in the heart and in the mind, time after time, only if we dig deep to find the core. I don't want to be divided anymore. I don't want the politicians, the talking heads, the nightly news telling me who I should be around, who I should be around. I'm around people who want unity, 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 who seek unity, who are unity. This is always where I want to be, around folk who are seeking UNITY, unity. Thank you. Thank you all, and thank you, Tim, for asking me to be a part of this. And I can be reached at ChristopherDSims@outlook.com. That's my email address. And I have cards in my wallet if you want copies of the poem or want to talk after this.
Thank you, Christopher. Molly?
I just wanted to make a suggestion, Tim, for the people who are here and feel like there are ideas that you can take away with you, that maybe you write something up for your respective organizations or churches, so that, you know, it isn't just one person, but that there are other people in your congregation that know what might be interesting you.
And if you didn't write down a commitment or two, if you, before you leave, you want to write down a commitment, will you take this back to your organization, ask them to be part of building unity? Will you take it to your congregation? You know, will you email me when I email you? We hope that this is just the beginning. No, this is just the beginning. No, it's not just the beginning. We stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. They're giants, and this is not the beginning. But it's got to pick up some speed. Can I get an amen on that? Amen. Ashe. Ashe. So,
can you include Christopher's poems in the emails you sent?
If he gives me permission to, I would do that.
Yes, my brother for sure.
All right, all right. So let's give it up for Christopher again. Let's give it up for Dr. Shannon Sloan-Spice and Art Shigoni, who blessed, opened this beautiful gathering for us. Thank you.
This water has been here receiving all of your good energy, your prayers, your good intentions. Sorry.
This water has been here with us through the bulk of our meetings, sharing all of your good energy, your prayers, and good intentions. And so I'm going to take this water outside and pour it here as an offering. Give this back to the earth with all of our love. Miigwech.
All right. Feel free to stick around and help us clean up and put things back in order. Feel free to mingle with anyone who wants to mingle. We have to be out of here by 5 o'clock. Thank you again, Dan Folkman and Video Hub, for making this happen. Live streaming it. That's fine. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Goodbye.